Mohammed Zubair, Siddique Kappan, opposition politicians. What do they all have in common? They've all been booked under sections where getting bail is rare, but getting convicted is even rarer. Kappan, a journalist, was arrested under UAPA, and he's far from the only one. There are JNU students, Devangana and Natasha, who were arrested in May 2020 in connection with the Northeast Delhi riots. And then there's tribal rights advocate Stan Swamy, who died in prison awaiting bail 9 months into his imprisonment. Alt News fact-checker Zubair was arrested under Section 153A and 295A, and many opposition politicians are now facing charges under PMLA. These 3 sections of the law have a commonality: poor convictions. Let's start with UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which declares an association or a body of individuals unlawful if they've indulged in activity that includes acts and words, spoken or written, or any other kind of representation that supports a claim to bring about the cession of a part of the territory of India or its secession, or anything that puts India's sovereignty and territorial integrity at risk. Here's the thing. To be charged under the UAPA, the accuser doesn't really need a whole lot of evidence. It's considered that serious of a crime. And most times, ending up in jail is kind of a given. But what rights advocates say is an even bigger issue is the fact that getting bail when charged under UAPA is practically impossible. Pair that with the laggard judicial system, and it becomes evident that these laws are serving a very different purpose than what was intended. Now, to quantify this, we're going to look at 3 things. 1, the number of arrests and charge sheeting rate. 2, the pendency rate. And 3, the conviction rate. According to the latest data presented in the Lok Sabha, between 2018 and 2020, 4,690 people were arrested under UAPA, but only 149 were convicted. Uttar Pradesh topped the list every year, with a total of 1,338 arrests and 83 convictions. Listen to this data point. Of the 1,319 UAPA cases filed in the northeastern states between 2018 and 2020, only 1 resulted in conviction. Manipur especially stands out with 943 cases and not a single person convicted. And remember, the issue here is that the accused can't get bail easily. In fact, many do not. Case in point, Uttar Pradesh. Of the 1,338 people arrested under UAPA, none of them got bail. However, there are some exceptions. In Tamil Nadu, of the 415 arrested, 358 got bail. Cases registered over 153A, which is when one promotes enmity on the grounds of religion, race, and place of birth, saw a similar trend, with the numbers of cases nearly doubling in the past 3 years. And while the government does not maintain data on the number of arrests made under Section 295A, which covers deliberate acts to outrage religious feelings, oftentimes these 2 laws go hand in hand. In 2014, 323 cases were filed. Then, in 2017, there was a spike with 934 cases. And by 2020, 1,804 cases were filed. That's 749 more than the year before. When it comes to Section 153A, interestingly, Tamil Nadu saw the most number of cases filed, and the greatest increase from 46 cases registered between 2015 and 2017 to 189 cases in the 2018 to 2020 period. So what happens with all of these cases? The next step would be to file a charge sheet. The charge sheeting rate is the cases charge sheeted as a percentage of cases reported in 2020. And only 27% of cases filed over Section 153A actually ended up even getting charge sheeted. And with UAPA, that number is even lower, just 15.8%. Now, these numbers kind of flip from lowest to highest when we take a look at the pendency rate. The police pendency rate refers to the cases pending investigation at the end of 2020 as a percentage of the cases that are up for investigation at the start of the year. Here, we see UAPA cases at the top, with 85% of the cases pending investigation, and Section 153A is right behind it, with 64.3% of cases still in limbo. And then we have the conviction rate. To calculate the conviction rate, we take the cases ending in conviction as a percentage of the cases that completed their trial in 2020. So let's take a look at Section 153A. And unsurprisingly, we're back to the bottom. Only 20.2% of those cases which actually even made it to trial ended up with a guilty judgment. UAPA's rate is a little higher at 21.1%. Though it must be noted that getting bail is comparatively easier in the case of 153A than it is for UAPA. But that doesn't mean that the court's verdict is coming any quicker. And the latest newsmaker is PMLA, aka the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Let's take a look at the numbers revealed by the Finance Ministry. Since 2012, the number of PMLA cases recorded has absolutely skyrocketed, particularly since financial year 2020, when 562 cases were booked under PMLA. The year after that, 981 cases. And in 2022, that number went up to 1,180. So that's a total of 3,985 cases over the course of 10 years, out of which 3,555 have been recorded just since 2014. But since 2014, trial courts under PMLA have convicted just 23 people for the offense of money laundering. So what does this mean? These three laws have seen the arrest of thousands of people, most of whom are stuck in the slow-moving wheels of the justice system. It often takes months, if not years, to get to the verdict. The accused spend most of the intervening period in jail, since getting bail is especially tough under UAPA and PMLA. Just look at Siddique Kappan. He's been in jail for nearly 2 years now. 82-year-old Varavara Rao was locked up for 2 years and 6 months before he was given bail. Stan Swamy died before a judgment on whether he can even get bail was made. Human rights lawyer and trade unionist Sudha Bharadwaj spent 3 years in prison. Even though it's relatively easier to get bail under Section 153A and 295A, Mohammed Zubair was freed only after the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. And he spent almost a month in jail after a series of trivial and absurd cases were slapped on him to keep him imprisoned. The data shows that arrests being made under these sections are on the rise. The data also shows that convictions remain few and far between. And so, with these sections, oftentimes, the process becomes the punishment.